106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Does volunteering at a nonprofit horse sanctuary sound wonderful? Or are you a veteran or a veteran spouse and think trying a peer group session through a local Horses and Heroes equine program might be worth trying? Henry's Home Horse and Human Sanctuary, located in Grand Central Park by appointment only, is home to a growing number of rescued and donated horses. Visit our website at henryshomehorsesanctuary.org or check out our Facebook at Henry's Home Horse and Human Sanctuary for more information.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to the Weekly Business Hour. This edition coming to you from the studios of Lone Star Community Radio, which is located right here in downtown Conroe, Texas, part of Montgomery County. Lone Star Community Radio, for those who are listening and don't know, it's a nonprofit. It's a community radio station. All of its program is produced locally. Occasionally, we'll bring on experts onto my show that may be located outside the area, but most of our programming is local in nature, and we talk about local topics, and that's what's great about community radio. It's all about community. I encourage you, join the community. Go to irlonestar.com. That's irlonestar.com. That's the website for the station. And please consider contributing because it's the money that we raise that keeps the station doing what it does. I'm a volunteer. There's lots of volunteers that make things work because we love the concept of local community radio. Quick thought for you that own businesses and listening to this. Question back at you this time of year, December, holidays coming up. Have you finished planning for the holidays? Now, wait a minute. I think I heard some groans out there. And I know there's always last minute, but it's very, very important in your business, as with your family, to get it right. And you want things to line up. In your business, have you gone down the list with your staff? Who's on, who's off, who's taking vacation? Make sure you got things covered. If you ship a product or deliver a service, is the scheduling made up? I was looking at some advertisements earlier in the weekend, and I noticed that the shipping dates, the deadlines were coming up. Make sure you're prepared. The other thing is hours open. That's something I find that some smaller businesses just sort of shy away because this year, Christmas, New Year's in the middle of the week, boy, how disastrous is that for your business? You know you're not going to do much business perhaps unless you're in a retail or some related business. So you kind of just, but you have to really pay attention and most importantly, communicate your hours to your potential customers, to your customers, clients, and of course your employees. Let people know when you're open. They may be surprised. They may be off during the holidays. They may need your service if you're a plumber or electrician, or they may need some of the products if you sell direct. It's very important communication in this time of the year. And last but not least, one of the unfun things that all of us in business have to do, at least for most of us, and that is closing out the year. And get in that mode where we close out the year, close out the books, and then, of course, prepare or have our tax returns prepared. There's work in the last week or two of the year that we can do to get ahead of that project so we're not dragging on to February, March, and then April 15th just jumps up in front of you. I encourage you, if business does slow down a bit for you this time of year, as it does to many businesses, take the time and work on closing out the year. The weekly business hour is where people from Montgomery and literally businesses throughout the year listening to our video cast, podcast, come to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve their business, and to be part of conversations that hopefully can make a real difference in their business. I believe today we're going to have a conversation with our special guest, Frank Fuss, that will check all of those boxes, right? I've already declared it a winner, Frank, and we haven't even exchanged words. I think it's a very important conversation, and I'm glad we're here to deliver it to you all. A reminder, the show is being broadcast live. Just go to YouTube or Facebook, look for the Weekly Business Hour page, and once you find it, click on it, and you can listen and watch as well. I understand there's a trend, I've been reading this lately in several sources, that people want to watch. Even if you're just sitting behind a desk with a microphone, they enjoy listening and watching. And that format is really, really booming. The other thing I want to remind you is at anytime you have a question about something we're talking about, you have a question about what's going on with the show, you got a thought how we might improve, and most particular, if you have a question about your business, you need a little bit of advice or direction, just reach out to me. This is what I do. And from time to time on the show, we'll do a segment called the mailbag. We'll actually read your question, your situation on the air, and then we'll respond on the air as well. So please reach out to me. My email is simple here at the station. It's Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. That's Rick at irlonestar.com. Or if you would like to, you can call me direct on my cell, 832-699-2132. That's 832-699-2132. Okay, we've taken care of all the particulars that need to be done, get the show rolling, and let's do the really, really good work that we do, I hope good work that we do, and introduce our guest. Again, I mentioned Frank earlier. Frank Fuss is a certified life mastery consultant, and he and I are going to talk about life coaching, what is it, who could benefit from it, and how you can expect to benefit from his coaching in particular. Frank, welcome to the show.
Well, good morning, Rick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we picked a good time of the year. I think things are slowing down, but they haven't stopped yet.
Oh, they're not slowing down for me.
Well, that's good. You mentioned before we went on the air that you've been engaged in all kinds of activities, and that's wonderful.
Right, yeah. I did a concert with the Conroe Symphony Orchestra on Saturday, and then Sunday I played with the West Conroe Baptist Church in their Christmas festival in the evening.
Well, you're a musician. We didn't even plan to really talk about that, but I mean, a variety, good man, and it takes a certain amount of discipline and creativity to do that, which I think spills over, I'm sure, into your business endeavors as well. So, interesting. Let's talk about life coaching and what inspired you to be a life coach?
Well, I've always wanted to help the world get better, improve people's lives. First of all, I started out wanting to be a high school band and orchestra director. I did that for a year, and the teaching situation was just, shall we say, less than ideal. And in January, I told the principal I wasn't coming back, that I'd finished the year, but I wasn't coming back, so they could do that. I eventually got into IT and was a computer programmer for 34 years. Before that, actually, I did some framing of houses and apartments. I did that for 4 or 5 years, so I like working with my hands also, and woodworking is one of my hobbies. But helping the world get better, it really is what I want to do. When I was offered the opportunity to take training to be a life coach, I thought, well, this is just perfect. It falls right in line with what I love doing. I love watching the lights come on in people's eyes when they grasp a new concept or something of that nature.
Yeah, coaching, mentoring, those kind of things. The feedback, particularly of small business people, is just, I think, fantastic. I myself, I drive by a business that's closed down that didn't make it, and it sort of hits my heart a little bit. My wife will tell you that. And I never walked over their threshold, never did business. But the fact they fail, and unfortunately many do, and one of the answers to that failure rate is to work with people like you to help me get on track if I'm starting a business.
Well, actually, failure is part of success. Oprah Winfrey was fired because she was not fit for TV. Steven Spielberg was rejected from USC Film School 3 times. And my favorite is Walt Disney was fired because he had no imagination and lacked original ideas. That's just laughable. But you take those failures and you learn from them. So failure is important, and if you can learn to learn from them and grow from them, that will help you be even more successful.
Let's talk about being a coach. What do you feel are the characteristics that someone needs to exhibit or have the experiences to make a really good coach?
Well, I've already mentioned that you've got to have a burning desire to help people and improve their lives, to help open their mind to things that they never thought they could do. Some people feel stuck because they just don't believe they can achieve those goals. And you just help them work past that. You give them the tools, the imagination, and step by step work through it.
Does anybody ever graduate from your program?
I've had several people graduate from my program.
Now, I'm just curious, in a general way, what are the requirements for graduation?
Basically completing the program. Brave Thinking Institute is where I got 2 of my certifications, and I use most of the material that I use is from them. They've got a Dream Builder program that's 12 weeks long and takes you from defining your goal. I call it identifying, unlocking, and igniting your dreams. First of all, you've got to know what your dream is, and then we unlock it by deciding for it and defining what the goals are, and take you step by step to just make it everything you want it to be. And often it's more than they ever thought they could achieve. It doesn't cost any more to dream big than it does to dream small. So I teach people to dream big.
Well, let me ask you this. This is something that I know. I'm a Silver Fox Advisor, which is a group of men and women who have finished their main career track, and they are inclined to want to share some of their experiences. A lot of them were in the C-suite. Some were in small business like myself. Most of the clients we engage with are small, medium-sized businesses. So we help each other. There's experiences. I mean, the depth of experience with, 40, 50 people, if you can access it, and they do a good job of giving us opportunities to share and learn. One of the things I was taught, first meeting I went to, they had a seminar downtown at the University of Houston campus there, their small business campus, and about 100 people sat in along with me, and one of the founders of that organization, Monty, got up there and he had a dollar bill, and on that dollar bill he had written 3 things, and what it was is the first thing he wants to talk about with any client or potential client is about their exit strategy. In other words, why are you doing this and what do you expect to get? Whether it's 5 years, 20 years, 30, whatever and he forces the individual to think about where they're going with this. And it is so invaluable to the point that I would not take a new client on until we sat there and worked on this, which may take several meetings. It's amazing how much people either don't want to or think they don't have time to think about where they're going with their business, the biggest investment they probably have in their life. And it's an amazing thing, and it opens so many doors that need to be explored. But the three questions, when, approximately when, 20 years, 5 years, 3 years, who do you want to sell it to? Someone in the industry? Do you want to pass it to your children, your family? Who's your buyer, if you will? And then last, how much money do you want to walk away with? In other words, retirement typically, but it may not be. It may be, I'm going to sell this, take that money, and I'm going to start something new. And getting people to sit there and think through that and make a decision, put it down on a piece of paper, put it in the drawer, and from time to time pull it out. There are so many decisions that get made along the way that sort of feed back if you stay on focus. And that was an amazing change for me. Got to the point where I wouldn't take on a new client if they weren't willing to sit down and do the work, which it seemed really easy to me. But again, I had some people resist. I never quite understood, but it was just it was like they didn't want to make a commitment.
Resistance is something that you deal with probably in any industry. But where I was going with that originally was you've got to have goals. And the more clear your goals, the more clearly defined those goals are, the easier and faster it is for you to achieve them.
You know what I worry about so much when I think through that concept of where you're going and having a plan or goals is the story of, it was told to me one of the Foxes. They were asked by two gentlemen who had started a company to help them because they issues. And their issue was they were both salespeople, really good at selling. They had obviously gotten into an industry of the products and whatnot that they did real well. Their sales went from 0 to 10 million within 5 years, but they made zero profit. In fact, they lost money.
Ouch.
Okay? And when he sat down with them, they didn't know where they were going. They didn't know what their exit was. They had no idea. They just knew they were salespeople, and they were good at it, and they were going to sell, sell, sell. And you sit there and shake your head. Gosh, getting revenues, main challenge of starting a business is getting those dollars coming in so you can pay your bills and expand. So it's out there. It happens. But that's the reason, I guess, that over half the small businesses that start, a really higher percentage of that in some studies, fail.
Yeah, within 2 years.
Yeah, pretty sad.
I've been doing this for 5 years now, so I've passed that mark.
Point of no return, right?
Persistence, yes.
Well, Frank, let's take a quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation into the idea of coaching and try to provide you with information and understanding of what it's all about and how you can utilize it to your advantage. So please stay with us.
Don't miss Lone Star Community Radio on TV and YouTube. Our talk show and music shows are featured on Our City TV, Suddenlink Channel 12, and have their own YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with posted shows and comment on them below the video.
Does your company have needs that can be met by an employee who is dependable, hardworking, enthusiastic, motivated, cooperative, respectful, and punctual? Conroe Independent School District Special Education Department can meet your needs by connecting you with potential employees that have been preparing for a lifetime of employment. We have numerous individuals seeking paid and unpaid work experiences. If your company is interested in seeing how we can meet your business needs, call Conroe ISD Special Education Department to find the best employees for you at 936-709-7671.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and I'm your host, Rick Schisler. I'm a Silver Fox advisor and the founder of OneBestConsult.com. We'll let you know we're having a great conversation here today, and if you've been listening, you know that with Mr. Frank Fuss. What I want to tell you, though, again, remind you, because so many times people are hesitant to do this, contact me, talk to me, let me know what's going on in your business. If you've got a question, I will answer every email I get. I do that. I've been doing it for years. I love to hear from you. So please reach out to me at Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. Well, Frank, coaching, life coaching, we've talked about how you got where you are and why you did it, which is important. Let's talk a little bit about the differences in coaching. You have a coach, you have a mentor. What else is there? They all have these different names. And it's always been kind of confusing to me, quite frankly. Well, I look at myself as a mentor only because I primarily use my experiences. But, you know, it's consultant's another word.
Right.
So how do you differentiate, or is that needed?
Yeah, it's definitely needed, and you need to understand those differences. A counselor or a psychiatrist digs into your past and works through all those traumas that you've experienced earlier in life. I don't do that as a coach. Even before I even thought about being a coach, I developed the attitude that however we got here, here we are. It's only going forward that matters. And a mentor is mentee-driven, and coaching is coach-driven. So if you can think of a basketball player with a personal coach, that coach is then telling that basketball player how to improve their game. It's been said that if you're in the picture, you can't see the picture. So a coach who's outside the picture, outside of you, can see things about you that you can't see yourself. And that's the value of coaching, because that will take you where you don't know where to go.
You know, I always thought about coaching, consulting is kind of a overriding thing on everybody's a consultant. You know?
Yes.
At least it seems that way. It gets more and more today. Well, I guess a lot of folks are retiring or whatnot, and that's a way to stay busy, to be a consultant.
Stay out of trouble. Stay out of your spouse's hairs.
Well, and every once in a while I'll meet somebody that's more of a subject matter or industry matter coach. They knew what they were doing when they were working, when they were in business. Right. And if they can communicate, they got something to offer people in that industry. Right. In fact, I got replaced once, and I encouraged the client to try it, an industry-specific individual, because they were really trying to grow their business, and this person knew all the nuances of the industry, the business, and highly successful with them, which I was glad to see. Let me ask you this. What areas of a person's career life do you typically work with?
I typically work with people's personal development. Another area is part of life includes divorce. I went through that experience about 45 years ago, and I feel like I've recovered from it quite well. I'm currently married to my lovely wife of 35 years, so I think I've kind of got a handle on it now. But the divorce recovery program that I went through with the church, I thought was very complete. I've kept the book, and that's what I use to guide my divorcees through that experience. And by the time we get to the end of the book, they've got their feet on the ground. They're ready to enter society again. They've identified everything that's coming at them, from the guilt, the anger, everything, including sex and what to do with that. One of my clients that went through divorce, was going through divorce while I was coaching her, ended up by saying, "I am at peace." And I can't think of anything I'd like better than that.
Well, there's no doubt when one is at true peace, basically they see more of what's going on, their vision is clearer, and thus they can make better decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's really what it gets down to I think, to equip someone to make the best possible decisions and implement them, of course.
Yeah.
It's sad to me to see somebody that's got all the right characteristics. They're in the right business. It fits their personality, which is something I'm big on. And yet, when they execute, they only get so far because they don't know any different. They don't know what to do to push it on out. If, in fact, they want to push it out. That's always a good question I have. Yeah. Where are you willing to go? We're back to that exit strategy thing. And I've had people that want to go to the next step, grow the business. And I said, I really don't think it's where you should go, you know. And I'll never forget, I had a client that wanted to, he was doing extremely well for 20 plus years, had a growing consultant type business, but he provided some services. He loved what he was doing, provided for his family, was saving, but he had that dream, right? So he went out and bought a smaller company in a sort of a related field. And I advised him against it, not because of the transaction, but because he was the kind of guy that he was in control every day of what was going on. And sure enough, he went in it 3 months. And he says, man, this is wrong for me. Well, it required to get in, particularly, specifically, to get in debt. He had to have revolving line of credit. And it got to $50,000. He said, well, you know, but when it started getting real close to $100,000, he said, calf rope, I can't. And we unwound it, and he was blessed. He did not lose any money. He lost a lot of time. But we were able to unwind and put things back in different places and collect the monies. But you got to make sure it's what what feels good to you. And he, like I said, he was excited, like the kid with the candy cane this time of year. And very, very interesting. What's your coaching philosophy or unique approach?
My unique approach, it's hard to call it unique. What I've been studying, reading books like As a Man Thinketh, was written in the early 1900s. I'm going through a book by Genevieve Barron that she was writing in the 1800s. So a lot of what I teach is not really new. It's just not taught in schools. It's not taught at home because the parents haven't been taught that. What you think, you become, is a very famous quote from Earl Nightingale. I've heard it paraphrased by other people, one person in particular that said, what you think about, you bring about. This is the law of attraction. And one of the best books that I've read was Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. It covers 11 of the universal laws, including the law of attraction, the law of forgiveness, the law of sacrifice. And that one I thought was interesting because when I started that chapter, I thought, oh, this is going to be a bitter pill to swallow. And it's really not. The law of sacrifice is just choosing the greater over the lesser. We're going to lunch today. Do you want to go to Mexican or do you want to go to Japanese? Let's see. I think I'll choose Japanese because that's the greater today. There are other times when it's not quite so simple, but it's essentially the same thing, just choosing the lesser or the greater over the lesser. So those natural laws affect us all the time. The law of attraction is the best known.
Let me ask you this, and this is, to me, so important. First of all, is to convince people, which shouldn't be that hard, really, as far as their side of the equation, to seek out some kind of coaching, consulting, whatever the name, but coaching situation. What is it that, what are the most common challenges, though, that people face when they do look for coaching?
They feel stuck. They know that there's something beyond where they are they just can't see it, and they know that they really need help to do that. If you're talking about athletics, they know what a coach will do for them. When you're talking about your personal life, people don't really understand what a life coach can do for them, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of people who could truly benefit from a life coach and improve their lives and make it greater than they ever thought they could, easier than they ever thought they could.
Yeah, it's rare, but you meet people every once in a while on one extreme that I don't need help. I've got it. I know it.
Oh, I've got it, yeah.
But that's in one extreme. And the other one, they're always in some kind of program they think's going to help them in their business to be more successful and take care of their family better and whatnot. So, no, I find in talking to people, of course, when I interview somebody, I give them an hour's time as a kind of a rule of thumb, and we just talk about what they're doing, what their goals are, why they're where they are, and so on and so forth. And if they're doing a startup, about 50% of the time, maybe a little more, I try to dissuade them because it's just not right based on what they're telling me for them. And there are many different reasons. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's who they are, their characteristics. As I mentioned in the story where the client wanted to expand, but it really wasn't who they were. They weren't equipped, and they'd already done such a wonderful job, they even risked that. So you have somebody come to you, they're talking to you about, getting involved with you for life coaching. What is it that you tell them, or how do you sort them out?
First of all, they've got to understand that they can grow, and they've got to want to grow. If I run into somebody who, I've got it down, I'm where I want to be, it's fine. You just go have your happy life. If you ever want to grow, they'll come talk to me. If you ever want to get beyond where you are, some people talk about being in a rut, and somebody described a rut as being a grave with the ends kicked out.
That's interesting. Well, one of the things too in that evaluation process, if you will, is, and this was one of the things that was really hard for me because I became an entrepreneur. I started businesses. I had partners. I didn't have partners. I mean, I went through that. I got a great training course in different industries. I mean, it was interesting. I bought a business, in fact, 2 businesses, and then grew them and sold them. But is to find people who have grown their business to a point and they're satisfied. And I'm not saying it's what I call a lifestyle business. In other words, I only want to work 20 hours a week. But people who they found that comfort level. Well, like the fellow I mentioned earlier, he wanted to grow, but he really was getting way out of his comfort zone. And he felt threatened, as his family did too, by the way. I didn't mention his wife having a conference with us one time. But it's been hard for me to recognize because I was all about growing something and then selling it and so on and so forth. But people, it's okay, that you take a business, but there's always ways to make more money with your existing business, even if you don't grow your top line so much. And I've had some amazing people that I've worked with that did exactly that. 30% profit, in a service business. I mean, wow. What's your thoughts about that?
Everyone needs to know what the limits of their comfort zone are. And it's actually, the fear is actually outside your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is where you've been before. You understand it. You know what to expect, what's expected of you. Outside your comfort zone, you don't know what's expected of you. You don't know what's going to happen. And that's where the fear comes from. So we learn to overcome the fear and just do it afraid anyway. It's important for growth in order to conquer your fear is just to get some support along the way and do it afraid. Just do it anyway. One of my mentors put out a meditation on fear. And the last line was, "Come along, fear. It's going to be a wild ride."
That's good. And I think that's important, and I 100% agree with you that folks need to, if they really want to grow the business, but maybe, it's shaky, especially a life coach like yourself can come in and help me grow internally myself.
Yes.
So I can have a better, I'm a better me in a sense that I can deal with some of the challenges, some of the fear, because I want to get to that goal.
Yes.
It's what I think is the difference that you can deliver versus what I'll deliver, because I have no background. I know people, but mine, again, is based on my experiences and whatnot that I was involved in. I think it's really interesting. Let me ask you, life coaching, again, when I say that word, I sort of cringe a little bit. Life coaching, coach me through life. I do, honestly, when it just sort of lightly, it just sets off a little buzzer somewhere way back there. What are the misconceptions, the typical misconceptions that people have about life coaching?
They think it's all frou-frou. They don't think it really works. We talk about intuition and imagination a lot. About making a decision, but the intuition and the imagination are things that are not concrete, but they're there. They're what people consider the frou-frou part. They don't understand that you get a lot of information through your intuition that you can't read in a book. I was working on a project. Actually, it wasn't a project. It was an assignment. I was working in IT. We were in a maintenance situation, a maintenance team. And one of the things we had to do was create an error report for the 2 airlines that we supported. During the summer, during the busy season, that error report would take up to 8 hours, typically, to create 2 emails to send to the 2 airlines. We were trying to figure out how to make these individual threads talk to each other. And finally, I figured out it really wasn't going to happen. It couldn't happen. So I stopped trying to figure out how to make those threads communicate with each other. And I just asked the question, what's needed here? And immediately the answer came to me. What we look for this information doing 3 lookups for each error, because some of the errors would go together, and to fix them they needed to be combined. So I thought then, okay, where's that information available? And immediately I found it in the driver program that was spinning off those individual threads. So I just modified the driver program to put that information out in the header that went out to each individual thread. And it literally changed from 8 hours to 20 minutes to have those emails ready for the 2 airlines. One of the other programmers said, Frank made it as easy as falling off a log. And that was just intuition. I don't consider myself a super brain or anything like that, but that one was easy. In fact, from the time I asked, I realized that approach wasn't going to work till the time I had it ready for submission was 2 weeks, which is phenomenally short time in IT. You probably are aware of that. I think you've touched IT enough in your businesses to understand that. So intuition is a real thing, and it really makes a difference. And if you'll get quiet and listen to it, it will bring you all kinds of rewards.
Real quick, when you say get real quiet, that is also one of the top 5 things I have difficulty convincing people of is taking some, and use the word quiet time to think about their business, to pull out a pad and a pen or a laptop or whatever, and just look at what's working, what's not working, where you're trying to go, what you could change. Because again, there's so many people hit the door every morning of their business, open it up, turn the lights on, and just start doing it. And then at the end of the day, they turn the lights out, lock the door, and they go home. And yeah, they push so much product out or responded to so many service calls, but like those 2 salesmen had $10 million in sales and no money. They had no idea. And they didn't think about that. No one ever sat down with them and helped them.
Right.
Put a business plan or whatever you want to call it together. And I think coaching is extremely important. I will tell you, in the first 3-4 years I was on this program, I tracked it. 95% of my guests who had a coach, mentor, someone helping them, 95 of what I pegged as successful, meaning they were solid, what I learned about their numbers and whatnot, and they had a sense that they were doing a good job. 95% of them had a coach or a mentor. Now, that was just on this radio show, and it was interesting. And a lot of them were small businesses. Some were bigger. Some had a number of employees. But it seemed to be a common denominator of all these businesses, different industries, different stages of growth, but they all had somebody. So
Right.
the next time we meet a successful,
There you go.
ask them if they've used or what they did to get where they are from where they started. And it's amazing. The highly successful ones, I bet it's still true today. Well,
All of the Fortune 500 CEOs have personal coaches.
that should tell
It
people
just
something,
is.
shouldn't it?
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. One of the things I'm interested in, and you sort of touched on it a moment ago, is the role of technology in coaching today. I mean, technology is just, it's like a huge wave. It just keeps coming over us. Even driving here to the station today, I was listening what I consider really an excellent interview with a guy about I call the internet. Well, social media, they talked about this and that. Of course, it always ends up at AI these days, and asked him for his take. And it was really educational to me because I'm trying to soak up as much as I can of AI because I really still don't 100% understand it. But it's a big field, and there's lots of moving parts and a lot of new language words to learn. But because I want to convey that to the smaller businesses,
Right.
the nonprofits, all the people I work with, what can work for you? Because the small business people kind of get left out because they don't have the time or the inclination or the payroll to,
Right.
work on this. Technology, what role does it play in what you do?
Very little. And I say that because coaching is a very personal thing. You can't call up AI to give you the advice you need. I really don't think it will work for that. Now, for back office stuff, for marketing, for scheduling, for customer relation management, it's going to be good there. It will save a lot of time. It won't do things that you can't do, but it's there, and it's a tool that you can use. I've had it write commercials for me. I was in BNI and had it write my 60-second commercials a couple of times, and got good response from the people. But other than that, no, technology is a tool to use, but it's not what drives my business.
I find AI just generally at this point in my education to be more about efficiency and making things move faster, whatever that means.
Right.
Marketing, I think, is going to be
Yes.
the highlight to begin with. We've run out of time, believe it or not. And again, Frank, I deeply appreciate you coming in and sharing your experiences and to talk to us about life coaching, which I agree, it's an important tool that any business owner, CEO, president, give them whatever title you want, can truly benefit and put themselves in a position to do a better job. That's what it gets down to, right?
Absolutely.
Real quick, somebody's going to consider a life coach. What advice would you give them to make sure or equip them to choose the right coach?
Well, there are very many different styles of life coaching. The first thing I would look for would be certifications, what institutions certified them. One of the certifications is all about dream building. One of the other certifications is based on energy. Everything is energy. Energy cannot be destroyed or created. Even thoughts are energy, so you can't stop, you can't destroy a thought that you don't want. You can stop it and replace it, and that's one of the tools I use in my coaching. So whatever style of coaching, you really should check them out. I offer Power Vision workshops where I help people work on their vision. I've got one coming up Friday the 20th at the Chamber in the Woodlands at noon. You can go to my website, frankfusslife.coach/events, and find out when my next event is. You can sign up for it there. They're free. Another thing that I do is if you go to frankfusslife.coach/newsletters, you can see all of the Reckless Thoughts and Inspirations newsletters that I have created for almost 2 years now. And you can also sign up to receive them by email if you like. There's a form at the bottom that will sign you up for that. I've gotten great response from that. I take an inspiring quote and put it in the top, then I put a little blurb about it underneath. And then at the bottom, I put a recipe. And I tell people some of them are healthy and some of them just plain taste good. But I've got a great, phenomenal open rate on those, about 40% open rate or better.
No, that's great.
So people are really enjoying that.
Well, you know, Frank, you give people a chance to see who you are, and that's so important because selection of a coach, mentor, obviously is a very personal thing.
Very personal.
And the fit really has to be there for it to work. Thank you again so much for taking time to join us today. Again, people want to reach out to you, make contact, ask you a question about today's show, perhaps talk to you more about coaching. What's the best way for them to do that?
frankfusslife.coach/contact.
Okay, you want to repeat that one more time for me?
frankfusslife.coach. And then the contact menu item.
Okay. I've been to your website. It's well done. Very, very informative, no doubt about it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the second half of the show coming up with what time we have left today. And my one best consult tip of the week, I entitled, Why Did You Pick the Business You're In? I explore that a little bit of why we pick the business we're in. It's kind of interesting when you start milling around and looking at businesses and talking to people. So hopefully it will give some reflection to you, if not more than that. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
A Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internship opportunities, a Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to grab the mic and be on the air. A Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world all year round. Be an on-air personality, talk show producer, or YouTube, TV, podcast editor. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936 647 3776.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dan Simon, Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floors. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
What is homelessness? Have you seen parents struggle to find a job without having transportation or childcare? What about the children sleeping in cars with nothing to eat? Families shouldn't have to struggle to survive, and children should not be homeless. Family Promise of Montgomery County serves the needs of homeless families and their children. Learn about ways you can help and learn about partnership opportunities at www.familypromiseofmc.org or call our day center at 936-441-8778.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Schisler. I'm your host. We're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. Again, I want to thank Mr. Frank Fuss, a life coach, for coming and exploring exactly what a life coach is and how it can benefit you. I think it's a tool that could work for many, many of our listeners, particularly the small business owners. I want to remind you that a podcast video cast of today's program, if you want to re-listen to a part or all of it, will be posted by Wednesday of this week across social media. Go to YouTube, Facebook. You can even go to the website for this station, Lone Star Community Radio. Simply go to irlonestar.com, click on the shows, the morning shows, and then you'll see the Weekly Business Hour, and the latest show will be at the top of that list there. So please, if you can, pass it on to someone else. Let people know what we're doing here, because hopefully with input from you as our listeners, and if you will, consider making a contribution to Lone Star Radio, Community Radio, we can keep the ball rolling here. And please, always send your ideas, questions, concerns. I respond, each and every one of them. A reminder, too, this is something I typically forget. Your business can be a sponsor of our program, meaning that when your donation comes in, if you say, well, I want it to reflect the Weekly Business Hour, and then you will be on air. I will mention your show, I will mention your company, and the fact that you are a sponsor of the Weekly Business Hour. One thing I wanted to talk about today, we've kind of run out of time, and I might continue this the next time we are live, is why did you pick the business you're in? I think this is a great topic for the holidays. Most people will answer that quickly. Some will be a little slow, like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, right? I think it's important to understand why you chose it if you don't already know. It just depends what kind of thought and exercise you put into planning your business before you started, or at some point you stopped, took a little bit of time to analyze it. I mean, one of the biggest reasons, if not perhaps the biggest reason, is passion. People have a passion for a product, a system, a process, a service. It's a personal passion that they have in particular, and we heard Frank Fuss talk about it several times, want to help people. There's a personal passion for helping people, organization, and problem solving. I mean, I see this time and again, and that's fine. It's a great motivator, a great reason to consider going into business. But you still got to make the steps, and you got to take each one at a time so that, in fact, you do find success and build a business that is successful and gives back to yourself and your family what it is that you want it to do for you and your family. That's very important, in my opinion. And so passion, it's an emotion, right? And emotion sometimes can lead us astray. So I'm going to continue this list hopefully in the next week or two, and we'll talk about it a little more. So if you've got a thought about why you started your business, drop me an email. Let me know. That's Rick at irlonestar.com. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to thank Mr. Frank Fuss for taking time to join us today. And please note on your calendar that next Monday, right here on irlonestar.com, 11 a.m., we'll be back with the weekly business hour. And again, look for a video podcast of today's show on the weekly business hour page at Facebook, YouTube, and other social media sites, including the site for this station at irlonestar.com. And as always, until next week, stay engaged and keep your focus on what counts in your business. Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks.